As the calendar flipped to November, backpacking on the Ice Age Trail seemed all but over for the year. However, Mother Nature gave us an unexpected warm spell that offered one last opportunity for a multi-day trip. I quickly pulled together my gear and headed to northern Wisconsin to do a 67-mile section, heading east from the Mondeaux Flowage to just past Grandfather Falls. I was just about to start walking when I made a very disappointing discovery. As I walked around my vehicle, I now understood why my low tire pressure light had gone on as I was pulling into the trailhead parking area. The start of my trip would be delayed over 3 hours as I installed the spare and headed to the nearest town to get the tire repaired. With the days being very short, getting to camp in daylight was now in serious jeopardy. All right, we are off. It is 12:30, which is unfortunate because I was supposed to be out of here by around 9:30, but with the mess with the tire, I had about a 3-hour delay. The delay honestly could have been worse. It could have been 4 or 5 hours easily, but shout out to the guys over at Medford Tire and Co-op. They got the tire repaired very, very quickly. And so I'm off. Originally leaving at 9:30 a.m. I thought I was going to have about an hour of daylight to spare. Now I'm 3 hours behind, which means I have negative 2 hours of daylight to spare. So normally on these trips I like to take a lot of shots with the camera where I set it down and then I walk away and then, you know, that kind of stuff. Those shots look awesome on the videos, but today I just don't have time, so I'll do a lot of that in the days to come. But for now, we're just going to be probably more walking and talking so we can get to camp. Got about 11 miles to go and about 4.5 hours to do it, and I normally don't walk over 2 miles an hour, so this should be fun. Planning is essential, but plans are useless, and that comes from Dwight D. Eisenhower. So true with backpacking. It's really important to have a great plan, but then at the same time, how often those plans just go completely haywire. Now this morning was one of the fastest one of my plans ever went off the rails, which was almost immediately. But that's backpacking. Things always go haywire. That's what makes it fun, and you've got to be able to adapt. You notice I'm wearing a blaze orange hat. It is bow hunting season in Wisconsin, and this is prime time right now, early November. So I want to wear blaze orange, at least a little bit of it, so I'm not mistaken for a deer. It is 65 degrees right now. For November, in the northern part of Wisconsin, 65 is crazy warm. There's always friends out on the trail. That guy was in the middle of the trail, almost stepped on him. A little bit surprised to see snow out here. Here's a little footbridge. It's covered with snow. You can see there's some snow on the ground here in the woods. That'll be going quickly with the weather this week. I'm just turning away from Mondeaux Flowage right now. This was the last water source, and I was able to get down there and get about 3/4 of a liter, but it is like 3 inches deep, very stagnant, and my water is just full of just scum and muck. I was thinking this was a lake here because earlier where I started, there's a beach. I mean, it was fantastic, but what looks like lake on the map is really just kind of a stagnant backwater swamp. Man, here I'm thinking it's a water situation, and here we've got flowing water, so I'm gonna dump out that other crap and fill up here. I'll get 3 liters total, then I'll be good to go till tomorrow morning. I just did a mileage check, and it took me an hour and a half to go 3.3 miles, from 3.3 in. Now, there were some parts of that were very muddy and difficult to cross and slowed me way down, and I stopped to get water. So I think if I can keep this pace up and make up some ground on the road walk, I should be getting in just before dark. I'm not exactly sure how to find this campsite. I know it's near the trail, but I've never been there before, so obviously it'd be much easier to find any side trails.
in the light. So I'm gonna keep on moving. I hesitate to say this because I don't want to jinx it, but the trail is very cruisy right now. I've been just moving out. Easy to follow, not much for roots or rocks. Just awesome. Alright, I'm on the road walk section. Got 6.8 miles in already, so I think I'm doing pretty well on the pace. I should make good time on the road walk, and then it's not even another mile to the campsite from there. So feeling pretty good about having a little bit of daylight. Alright, we are back on the Ice Age Trail. It is about 4:20. So I busted out that 3.4 mile road walk in like a little over an hour. And that was with a water stop too, to filter water. So that was really moving out. Alright, let's keep going, almost to camp. Well, here's the camp for the night. This is awesome. Thank you so much to the Boy Scout troop that put this together. Got a nice fire pit, areas to cook dinner and sit down. Fantastic spot for my tent right here. Oh man, this is awesome. 4:35 as well. I can't believe that I got here that quick. That is great. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the day here right now because it's starting to get dark and I want to get my tent up real quick in the light. Fantastic 10 plus miles today. This trail was awesome. Some muddy spots, but never enough to get my shoes completely soaked, and certainly something you can navigate around. Plentiful water, wildlife. I saw several grouse, a couple of deer. Trail is in really nice shape. There's a couple rocks and roots here and there, but for the most part it is really easy walking and fantastic. Just love it. This spot is pretty incredible here right now, so I'm looking forward to a good evening. Hiking this time of year gets dark early. The time change was this week, past weekend, so it's not even 5 o'clock and it's already starting to get dark. So I brought a book. I'll probably hang out and read after I get done cooking dinner, but really enjoying this so far. Looking forward to a great day hiking tomorrow. Alright, we are on our way this morning. Got a little chilly last night, down to about 35, but not too bad. Again, a big shout out to Boy Scout Troop 538 out of Medford, Wisconsin for creating that campsite. It was great. It is about 6:40 this morning, and got a little bit later start than I wanted to, but I slept in till like a little after 5:30. But gonna have a great hike today. There's this wayside at the end of the Highway 13 road walk that's closed, but I saw this, like, ooh, fresh water, but lo and behold, it's shut off. So, oh well, I'll keep drinking brown stream water. All right, we're on to the East Lake segment of the Ice Age Trail. I do miss Colin. He goes with me on all my hikes, but we got this big spurt of warm weather in November in the middle of the week, and I pretty much just dropped everything to go out and hike, but Colin's got school and he couldn't go, so I'm on my own. And one thing I miss is how Colin always walks in the lead and he clears the spider webs for me. I really miss that, because now I'm clearing them all myself. I also miss the company and just having somebody with you, you know, even if something crazy would happen like a bear attack, it doesn't matter whether there's 1 or 8 of you. If you get attacked by a bear, you're in trouble. But it's just comforting having another hiker with you. We've got some eastern hemlock here. Another patch of hemlock trees. So here's something I'm sure we've all seen before on the trail, and I can never put my head around it. See all these nice rocks for getting through this muddy section? And here's a footprint, like 6 inches down into the mud. But there's rocks everywhere to walk on. It's not like their foot slipped. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if people just like mud or what. All right, these spider webs are getting old. So I have a question about that. How does that happen? So a spider web is strung between 2 trees, one on either side of the trail. And every morning they're back. So if somebody cuts the trail one morning, the next morning they're all back. So how does that happen? If anybody knows the answer, please put something in the comments. But in my mind, I'm imagining spiders climbing up a tree about 5 feet high and attaching their little web string, then climbing down the tree, walking across the trail, climbing up a tree on the other side, and attaching the spider web there, like dragging it the whole way. That's got to be how it happens. Otherwise, how does it get across the trail? They can't fly. And why do they do this? I've never seen a bug caught in one of those things. I just have no idea how they do it or why they do it. That's got to be a tough to bear fur. What else would that be? I don't know if you can see this water, but it's pretty stained. I'm hoping to find some clearer stuff later on. It tastes fine. I just look at it as oak and maple tea. I just love stuff like this. I'm at East Lake now. There's definitely something living under this rowboat. When I walked by, it must have startled it. It banged against the side. That'll wake you up. It's a pretty lake. Water looks clean, but it's so shallow to get out to where I want to get water. There's no way I'd be able to pull it off without getting wet. So Goat Hook says there's a seasonal stream a little ways up, so I'm going to refill there. Here's a look at what I'm walking on. Oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is a lot nicer than getting water out of a stagnant lake. Yes, crystal clear. Awesome. Well, I just had to stop and change clothes again. Now I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. Pretty crazy wearing shorts and a t-shirt in November up in northern Wisconsin, but this is a warm spell we're having here. So I'm off again, gonna keep on hiking. I think somebody needs to fix the signage. I thought there was a road walk coming up. And I get to this highway and it says go 0.7 down the road until you come to the next section of trail. So I start going down there and then I pull out the phone just to check, and I'm way off the trail. And there was a sign for the trail on the other side of the road, except for there's an arrow pointing down the highway. So I don't know what's going on. Well, as it turns out, we can call off the sign reconfiguration team, because when I got back to where I left the trail, It turns out the issue was I just didn't read very carefully. If I would have been paying attention to what the sign said rather than just making an assumption, it would have been fine. The assumption was I was at the start of the road walk, and I was not. I have a little ways to go to get to the road walk. So I just breezed through what the little tiny sign said and just assumed that I had to go that way, and but now we are back on the trail and heading in the right direction. Look at all this snow.
This is the actual road walk. All right, this sign is awesome. See those round hay bales there? The legislature was trying to pass a law that you can't feed your cows with those round hay bales. It is because they aren't going to get a square meal. This trail right now is about as cruisy as it gets. Perfectly flat. Really nothing in terms of rocks or roots. Easy to follow. Should be able to put down some miles if it stays like this.
When we take our dog for a walk, when he starts out, his tail's held up high, wagging all over the place, having a great time. But then, after he goes for too long, his tail drops down and you can tell he's getting tired and his tail's hanging real low. Well, right now, my tail's hanging low. It's been a long day. I still have like 8+ miles to go to get to the campsite I wanted to get to, but that is not going to happen. So there's one about a little over 4 miles from here where there's a water source. I might try to stealth camp there. We'll see, but whew, I'm tired. Yesterday and this morning, water was fairly plentiful. Not so much anymore. I've not seen a good water source since that really awesome stream where I grabbed 2 liters. And now I have about a 1/4 liter left. And I'm still probably 2.5 miles from the next water source on the map. I'm hoping to camp there tonight. If that thing sucks, then it's like another 4.5 to the next one after that, and I would be long since out of water by that point, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. It looked like on the map there'd be tons of water sources here, but it's like a couple of beaver ponds, and I'm not taking water out of a beaver pond, and like stagnant pools of leaf water that have been sitting there all summer, full of algae and stuff that's gross. I mean, I suppose in a serious situation you could drink it, but try not to go there. Well, I just came across this. It's very leafy and stained, but I'm at least going to grab a liter of it and take it with me, and I can always dump it out if I find something better. This stream turned out to be awesome. It's flowing out of a lake, and I was able to grab 3 liters out of here and resupply with water. It's very clear too, so I got to dump out that iced tea that I had gathered from that leafy mess way back a couple miles ago. So now I got to find a spot to camp. I'm just going to find the next available flat spot and stay there. After filling up on water and having some snacks, I did get a sudden burst of energy, so I'm going to see how far I can make it before dark. These spots look flat here, but it's really mushy and soft and wet. I'm still looking for a better spot. If all goes well, I may actually be able to make it to the lake I was trying to get to, although it'll be dark by the time I get there. 1.4 to go to the lake. Still have a little bit of daylight, but not much. Well, 4:59 and I made it. Oh my gosh. I can't believe how fast I was going at the end there. but it was worth it because I have a great camp spot here. This is like an actual campground or something. There's all these different spots. I got a picnic table, there's a fire pit. I'm not gonna have a campfire, I'm too tired. But nice view of the lake, nice flat spot. So I'm gonna get set up because it's almost dark. I stayed at Wood Lake Campground last night. This is a nice campground. I was the only one here. Didn't expect to see a lot of people in the fall, I guess. But had a good night's sleep, ready to go. I got 17.6 miles to do today. Weather's supposed to be warm again, and looking forward to it. Here's a view of Wood Lake in the morning. Surface is like glass. Perfectly quiet. All along the trail around Wood Lake they have these historical signs talking about the history of the area and the logging that went on here. It's really neat. I'm taking time to stop and read all these and kind of learn about the area back in the early 1900s. This is a glacial area, and when you see these big boulders laying around, they're called glacial erratics. They were moved here by the glaciers and deposited, and at the time the glacier was a mile thick, and it all melted away and left these big boulders all over the place. I'm not sure how well this is going to come through, but that's a bald eagle's nest. It is gigantic. Just took a little break. Got the jacket off. Put my contact lenses in. I didn't want to do that earlier because it was so cold. My hands were getting cold and they were wet. I know I'm kind of a wimp, but I like having warm hands when I'm hiking. It is so quiet and still out this morning. Just gorgeous. I've kicked up so many grouse on this trip. I've probably kicked up 25 grouse so far. They're just all over the place in here. Hello, Mr. Porcupine. All right, get going. Go on, get off the trail. Go on. Come on, man. I got to get through here. I'll walk around you. I'm not going to bother you. There you go. Oh, there you go. Just finished the Wood Lake section, and now I'm entering the Timberland Wilderness segment. This is what the yellow blazes look like. Sometimes they're yellow plastic cards that have been nailed to the tree, but in this section they use paint. They have blazed this probably every 60 feet so far in this section. So they either had a lot of yellow paint to get rid of, or I don't know what. But I appreciate it because sometimes you're not sure if you're still on the trail, and it's nice to have these regularly. Little swampy area here. I can't imagine what this is like in the summer with the mosquitoes. Oh gosh. That's one thing that's awesome about fall hiking is there's no bugs. Yeah, there's the blaze, so that is the trail, but I think we're gonna try to find a way around. I see why this is flooded out. It's those dirty beavers at work again. That's a pretty fancy deer blind. Somebody hauled quite a bit of stuff out here. I saw this coming up and the trail was heading straight for it. I'm like, oh no.
But then luckily it routed around it. Kind of looks like the bayou in here. Doing another 1.9 mile road walk. Usually when I think of road walk, I think of walking along like a paved road dealing with traffic, but the road walks out here are nice. They're in the middle of nowhere. They're on just these dirt roads with very little traffic, and it's nice and peaceful. On to the next segment. We are doing Camp 27 now. Hey buddy, how you doing? So here's the funny thing. I just got up. I was taking a nap or a little rest. Right there. There's my backpack. And when I got up to get going again, I stood up and the snake was like right there, and then he slithered up under that log. He somehow snuck up right on me, and I didn't even know it. Just grabbed a little water from this stream, probably the clearest water that I pulled out on the trip so far, so that's good. I ended up filling up all the way with water at that last stream. It looked great. And I looked up on the map and there's one water source a little ways ahead, but nothing until camp. So I'm not going to make the same mistake I made yesterday. So I loaded all the way up. I got plenty of water to get to camp. And camp is at a water source. So I'll be fine then. This is kind of funny. Somebody must have sawed down the tree that had a blaze on it, but they took the part with the blaze and put it on a stump. Just got done with Camp 27. Now we're on to the New Woods segment. 5.8 to go to camp. Oh, check this out. This is like a really green and mossy area here. This is an old school deer blind. I like this idea a heck of a lot better than bringing a bunch of wood in here and building a big thing. This is all natural and it'll decay over time. You're not nailing boards into trees. Seeing 2 snakes so far on the trail got me thinking, and you have a lot of time to think when you're out here by yourself. And that I'm not really afraid of the snakes at all. But when I was a kid, oh my gosh, I remember I used to go out with my parents and like, oh, there's a snake, oh, there's a snake. They'd be like, yeah, right. And there was never really a snake until one time I really did see a little garter snake slither past me on the trail and just went screaming, running the other direction. They were like, what? It was a snake. And they're like, yeah, that time he saw a snake. But I think that fear comes from the unknown. And a couple years ago, my oldest son bought a pet snake, and we were a little bit apprehensive about it at first, but he's really cool, and we play with him and hold him, and it just gets you to realize that snakes are a creature just like everything else out here, just trying to make their way. They're not going to hurt you. I'm not going to go poking at a snake out in the wild, but I'm also not afraid of them anymore either. And like in many things in life, that fear comes from not really having been close to something or experienced it. And now that I've had a chance to hold a snake dozens of times and let it wrap around and feed it and whatnot, I really don't have a big fear of snakes. I don't want to step on a rattlesnake. I'm concerned about that if I'm hiking out west, but at the same time, when we see rattlesnakes on the trail, I just give them their space and back away. But just one of those things I was thinking about. Not sure if this is going to make the final cut for the video or not, but it might seem like a crazy rant, but we'll see. Now that I've been out on this trail for a couple of days, I've really been thinking about how to compare it to some of the other trails I've been on, because this is just awesome. And trying to compare the Ice Age Trail to, say, something out west, it's like trying to compare your favorite pizza
to your favorite T-bone steak. They're both food, and these are both trails, and they're both amazing, but in completely different ways. And there's times where pizza is perfect, and there's times that a steak is perfect. Or if you're a vegetarian, a spinach salad with some walnuts and raspberry vinaigrette. But the point is, it's really hard to compare, because when we were out in the Maroon Bells in the Fort Pass Loop, that was some of the best scenery I've ever seen in my life. But the hiking was so difficult, and it was so crowded, that it kind of took away from the scenery. Now out here, there's no mountains, but if you like rolling hills and trees and meadows, this is great. But it's just two different types of hikes. So my point being, very difficult to compare. These are both incredible hikes, and I would recommend this section to anyone. The hiking is a lot easier, not easy, but easier, and the scenery is really, really good. This is something I've been seeing quite a bit of on the trail, and this is a scrape from a white-tailed deer. And it's rut right now, which is the mating season. And when you see these scrape marks, the bucks will scrape, and they're trying to attract does, and they'll rub their scent glands from their face on the little branches in the tree here. Normally when you see a scrape like this in the ground, if you see a little tree directly above it, this is from a white-tailed deer. Here are two more scrapes right next to each other, and here's this little tree that's right above. I've seen 5 scrapes in the last 100 yards, so there is most definitely a buck working this area. These are beautiful mushrooms. Even I can follow this one without getting lost. This is by far the biggest stream I've seen so far. One of the things I like to do each day at camp is get some video of the campsite, so I can remember what it was and that you all can see it. This has got a great view of the Wood River down there. The reason I didn't get any of the other campsites for the first 2 nights was because by the time I got to camp, it was dark, and I took my tent down in the dark so I get hiking early. So this is the first time I've had a tent in daylight on this trip. This is the section on Gut Hook, or the landmark that's called 3 Pines. You can see the 1, 2, and 3 pine trees. Now if you're going to camp here, there is one spot, and it's really almost like half a spot, and there's nowhere else anywhere to camp that I can see, because it's very like bumpy around here. But beautiful spot. Good morning. It's the morning of day 4. The 3 Pines spot was a really nice camping spot last night. Relatively reasonable access to water. The bench was perfect for cooking food. And it's a nice night. It's cold out this morning. And I actually was up earlier than normal. I got up at the same time, but for some reason I was able to pack up and get going earlier. It was still kind of dark when I started walking. But right now the sun's starting to come up a little bit. Hopefully it'll warm up soon, because man, it's chilly. Even in warm temps, November is cold in the morning. Today I have 15.6 to the New Wood Campground, but I'm not camping there tonight. Colin is going to pick me up and take me home.
It's amazing how many times out in the middle of nowhere you just see random stuff like this. Like, who put this out here and why? Another brief road walk. This one's only 0.6 miles. We are on to the Avril Kelly Creek Wilderness segment. I knew this was coming, but I was hoping it would be warmer out before we got here. But there's no way across this except tromping through. Oh my gosh, was that cold. My feet and socks are just soaked right now. And it's still probably in the 30s. It's just going to take a while for this to dry. It should be close to 60 again today if the weather forecast was any good 3 days ago. Of course, if the 3-day forecast was any good, they'd only give it every 3 days. Well, quick break to stop and wring out the socks. That should help them dry out a little bit. So quiet out here. So this section of the trail is closed from September 15th to December 31st. So I'm now taking a detour this way. I'm not actually sure how far it is. Hopefully not too far. Just got done with my break. Changed out of my puppy. Put my contact lenses in now that it's starting to warm up. Had a snack. It is nice. One thing that is hard to do when you're putting in a lot of miles is keep up with the calorie needs of your body. And I eat a lot of trail mix during the day, but one thing I saw another backpacker suggest was to eat candy during the day too. Oh my gosh, that was a brilliant idea. My last couple hikes I've been bringing Sprees, which is my favorite hard sugary candy, and I've been crushing those all day, and it's awesome. I just had some, and they were delicious. Alright, I went probably about a mile out of my way, so I think it's going to be a total of 2 miles of reroute, which is not too bad. Anytime you go on a 4-day backpacking trip, you're always taking a chance that you're going to run into some kind of crazy weather, and it almost always happens. But this trip, the weather has been unbelievable. 4 straight days of gorgeous weather, hardly a cloud in the sky, not too windy, just amazing. I feel so lucky right now to be able to go on a trip for 4 days and not get rained on, no storms, no wind, no freezing cold temperatures. This is awesome. I'm glad I'm wearing my orange hat. I just looked down a kind of a side lane and I saw a guy with a shotgun. One thing that's a little crazy is I have not seen a single hiker or backpacker this entire trip. And I think I got to be coming up on about 60 miles walked so far over 4 days. Not one person. And as great as these trails are, and as great as the weather is, I'm absolutely shocked that I haven't seen anybody, not even a day hiker. There's those dirty beavers at work again. Taking ordinary woods and turning it into a flooded marsh. I just got to that point where I started thinking about fast food. And I know there's a McDonald's on the way home. And that's all I can think about right now.
is 2 Big Macs, a large fries, and an ice cold Coca-Cola. Oh my gosh. Fast food never tastes as good as it does after you've done a lot of miles hiking. I think it's got to be 3 Big Macs. Yeah. The number's 4. 4 Big Macs. And the fries and the Coke. Holy cow. You can see that the landscape definitely changed. Boulder climbs coming up. The Wisconsin River. Hardest working river in the world. I say that because of the number of dams on it. I have a friend who would know that number cold right off the top of his head. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jeff. But I'll look it up just so I know that for myself. The Wisconsin River is also home to a thriving population of carp. My once proud pace of hiking this morning is slowed to a crawl on this stuff. I want to be careful, almost to the end. Don't want to get hurt now. Look at this guy, walleye fisherman. Come on, man. Carp is where it's at. Just stopped for lunch by this dam. Seemed like a nice spot. Man, I'm to that point where every single thing I put in my mouth just tastes like the best thing I ever ate. I like getting to this point because you enjoy every bite of food that you get. I'm about to crush a bunch of sprees. And peanut butter and jelly on crackers. I'm sorry, tortillas. It's been a good run, but I'm gonna have to let you go. It is crackers for the win. I just thought of a great idea for a coffee table book. Deer Stands of the Ice Age Trail. One more road walk. This one's 2.2 miles. Then I turn back into the woods, head to that campground. I'm all set. Grandfather Falls segment, last segment for me on this trip. .9 to go, but if it's like this the whole way, it's gonna take me probably 2 hours. I just love the rock formations here along the Wisconsin River. As I'm winding down the last few miles here, I just want to take a minute to thank all of the volunteers, members of the Ice Age Trail Alliance that put countless hours into making this trail possible and making adventures like this possible. Thank you. I sincerely appreciate it. This has been a great trip, and it would not be possible without all of your hard work and efforts. I really love how the terrain just keeps changing here. If you ever don't like it, just wait a little while, it'll be different. After the water
goes through these tubes. It goes through a powerhouse, generates electricity, and then it is returned to the Wisconsin River. One question you might have is, well, why do they use these big tubes called penstocks? And the reason is, when the drop in elevation is high, and in this case it's 94 feet, they use these to generate the power. They also have these in Wisconsin Dells, and for $89 you can ride down them on an inner tube all day long. Well, this is certainly a welcome sign. That's my extraction point where Colin's going to pick me up in a little while. So, great trip. It was the north part of the Mondeaux Flowage to Camp Newwood County Park, just past Grandfather Falls, and about 67 miles, make it 69 with the 2 miles extra for the detour. Fantastic trip, absolutely loved it. Weather was great, the trail was great, saw lots of wildlife, and really enjoyed myself. At this point, I'm just waiting for Colin to pick me up. Colin's my 17-year-old son. He is the co-star of all of my hiking videos. This is the first time I've hiked without him. We always hike together, always, but he couldn't get off of school this week. But can't wait to get home and work on editing this and getting it out there for everybody.